Welcome back to the Real with Joseph Lamtman. I am Joseph Lamtman, your host. I hope you guys are having a great week. Thanks for tuning back into the Real. Merry Christmas to you guys, to you and your family. Hope you guys are having a great holiday week as we get ready for Christmas coming up. Got the college football playoffs coming up. We got New Year's coming up. So, yeah, hope you guys are having a great holiday season with you and your family. Um, Before we get into today's show, special edition of the Real today, very special edition. But before we get to it, hit the subscribe button for me if you're not subscribed already. I really appreciate that. And hit the like button for me. Everybody hit the like button on the way in here. Help your boy fight those algorithms and help me to grow my channel more. I really appreciate that. So hit the like button for me as well. And very important video today. So please share this content today, this message today from my father, Joe Latman, aka Jersey. Will be presenting a message today to parents out there with children that are um, really parents in general, but also primarily this will really help parents today that maybe have kids that are going through what I went through at a younger age with anxiety, GAD, maybe agoraphobia, panic, a lot of the same things I went through, health anxiety. So I'm really excited to hear my dad's message today. This is going to be really helpful to a lot of people. And really, that's our goal with today's episode is to really, um, help parents out there because I think a lot of parents right now, I think I see right now more than ever. Um, Man, there's so many kids I see younger than I was at 15 years old going through what I'm went through back then, currently, and just even worse, unfortunately. And it's very sad and it's very, very worrisome too to me because I feel like a lot of these people don't have the proper guidance. Many people I've met don't have the guidance, don't know where to go, what to turn to. They just get kind of lost, confused, upset, and the whole family just gets kind of frustrated. And it's just like a never-ending cycle. You know what I mean? And a lot of times for the child, or as they get older, maybe to my age, at around 24, or they start as they get older, they start making poor decisions or doing things out of their character or all trying to cope with that pain or whatever they're feeling on the inside because there's just not a lot of the parents don't know what to do, and the parents can get down. I think parents can get depressed from it, seeing their kids go through that and not being able to figure out. A lot of parents, I know for my parents, I'm sure my dad will bring this up today. A lot of the pain that they go through was not only seeing their child suffer through that, but also not being able to fix it. That's a horrible pain I could imagine for a parent. I haven't been a parent yet in my life, but um, I can't imagine what it's like. And seeing what my mom and dad have gone through in the last 9 years, obviously it took a toll on me, but it's taken a toll on them and my sister as well, and other people in my family, my immediate family that have helped me along the way. Um, Especially my parents though, because they were with me every single day through the ups and the downs, especially in my worst moments. My parents were there with me. Um, It helped me get through it. And, I think one thing that I'm sure my dad will kind of get into today, or you'll pick up on as he starts to present his message, is that I think a lot of parents give up or they want to fix it themselves so bad. Or I think a lot of parents too don't know how to heal because they're not healed themselves. And so when things are happening to their children, they kind of just let their child just kinda go out to the wayside, a lot of them, or they just kinda let them they give them basic, advice, um, or, like, just go to the doctor or go to basic talk therapy, but there's no, like, real healing being done, real therapy, real, you know, just what a lot of children, a lot of people are really seeking and craving for. It's just not going on nowadays. We don't really it's not really promoted in our society, I don't believe. It's become a little more better the last 3 to 4 years, I think because it's the anxiety is and depression and all of that has really skyrocketed the last 3, 4 years. So I think there's a little more help out there now, a little more voices, a little more, awareness to it, but, yeah, I don't think a lot of parents and a lot of, people in general know really where to turn to, and like I said, I think a lot of parents too, so oftentimes just a lot of them, maybe they went through things when they were kids and they never really got the help, and their whole life they've just been trying to move on from that and cope with it and try to live their life, moving on from whatever happened to them at some point, maybe when they were kids or maybe they had a traumatic experience or whatever. And it's easy to tell a child that, hey, you know what, just fight through it and it'll get better. Just keep going, and you need to keep doing this, keep doing that. And I think a lot of the problem now is that I see nowadays, um, you know, for the last month and a half, about month and some change or so, probably about month and some change. Um, you guys haven't really seen me do a lot of videos on this channel. Well, I've only done one message. It was around Thanksgiving, like message. We've been doing a lot of football over here because it's that time of year we get close to the playoffs. It's fun, and we're trying to really dive into that. But also, I've kind of taken some time away the last month to kind of just, um, really review some things in my life. Really, I was fortunate enough to, by the grace of God, to move on from some things in my life, close some chapters in my life for good, um, just for myself internally. And it's been a challenge. It hasn't been easy at times. It's a process when you're moving on from things and you're healing still, and you're trying to get your life back to normalcy, which I've been doing, and just kind of finding out what God's plan really is for you. I think I found out some of that, what I've been doing now for the last year and a half, a little bit over a year and a half since I started this, and a lot of the other work I do. Um, but just trying to discover what God really wants, how God wants to use me, for His purpose in my life. And so, um, and also just kind of reassessing things that I really desire. Things, what do I really like? What do I really want in my life? What goals, what visions do I have for myself in certain situations in the future? And but also, I think too, it's just been letting go to God more than ever, and just pure serenity and pure letting go, pure just trust and faith, challenging my faith. But He's definitely grown my faith more in the last month. And even like recently, I went by that, finally went back to that school that I had left when I was 15 years old. First time I've been back there since I left. And just kind of went by there and went out there, and it was good to look at it for where I am now compared to what it was 9 years ago when I walked out of that building that day. To be able to go back and look at it, and just really have a sense of look how far I've come and where I am now and who I am now. That was very rewarding, not only for myself but for my family as well. Some emotions though, still a lot of things I'm working through. Um, but that's why I want to present it to you guys, which I've been documenting a lot of that as I've been moving along in my healing journey here on this channel. Um, to really share with you guys and know that hey, you're not alone, and that's why we want to do this video today for parents. We talk I talk a lot, and a lot of people talk a lot about people themselves, like the patients with anxiety, but not a lot of people talk about the supporting, cast or support staff, whatever you want to call it, of usually parents, or maybe if you're somebody out there who takes care of somebody else's child who's going through it, or habit, whatever the situation is. Um, nobody. I don't think you guys get a lot of support either, or have direction either, how to handle a child, how to in certain situations, and how to um, really find what you're really looking for. We all know what we want. We want our kids to be happy, and we want them to live freely, and to be healthy, and to live out their dreams and to live life to the fullest, and not to be in pain or and suffering all the time, but show them how to overcome it, how to grow from it, how to be stronger, and how to elevate themselves, and to find their true calling in life through God. And I think I can't wait to hear what my dad has to say today. I'm sure it's gonna be an awesome message because I know it's gonna be. He's really passionate about this. We kind of got into it on our live stream the other night, after the game. Chris Gergs and my dad, and myself, we all got into this very great discussion about. We were talking about parents with kids and youth sports. I'm actually going to clip that out and put that on a separate video very soon. So I highly recommend watching that, as well. Some great stuff we had in that conversation if you haven't seen it. But again, I can't wait to hear my dad has to say today, because this is a great video not only for this channel, for you guys, but for our family as well. Um, to really, as we've been moving forward in our lives and as a family, especially recently, just moving forward and turning the chapter of the last 9 years and being able now to take all that we've learned and to help others and to help other families. There's another 15-year-old out there right now, and his parents as well. They're probably going through the similar things that we've gone through or went through. And so, you know, and like I said, I know because I see it still, and I've seen it at younger ages now too. And so, and even older, there's some kids around my age right now. I say kids, but people around my age right now that are maybe still fresh out of college or um, wherever they are, fresh out of college, in college, maybe started a career, trying to figure out what they want to do with their life. Um, and there's a lot of people going through things right now, and I think the biggest thing I'll say before I turn it over to my dad is, and I'm sure my dad's going to get into this about pressure and just how much I see. So the biggest issue I see right now is so many people I grew up with, my age, adults, teenagers, and even kids. There's so much pressure being put on all of us nowadays in society, but especially young adults and teenagers. And pressure in terms of they have to reach a certain status in life. They have to have a certain, if you're not married and have kids by a certain age, some people are, some parents or communities are frowning upon those kids. And a lot of times those kids make poor choices out of that pressure and do things that are way out of their character or immoral. Um, or you see a lot of people as well that are just that pressure, they get down on themselves. They feel like they didn't live up to the expectations people thought they were supposed to be. And they didn't live up to being that person people wanted them to be growing up, especially in high school and college, or they feel like they let people down. They're not good enough. They're insecure about a lot of things, and it's really sad. And I understand that. I went through that a little bit. I wasn't able to, complete high school normally because I had to leave high school. I didn't get to go to college really at all because of what I went through. And so there's a lot of things I missed out on. I didn't get to finish my playing career in sports the way I wanted to. I didn't get like a final game or anything like that. Um, and yeah, for a long time there was things that bothered me. There was times, and it's still been a process to get over a lot of things. Um, and being 24, not having certain things in my life yet, you feel the pressure from the world. What I would say is, though, what helps me though is to focus on the Lord, number one, but also understand that if you're having parents though that what help me is having parents that understand that hey, it's okay. Number one, but also number two, my parents have been very honest with themselves throughout this process the last 9 years, and have made adjustments at times, and have done things better that maybe they had to be better in, but also they've seeked their answers from the outside. They didn't try to figure it all out on their own, and that's helped me because that helped me along the way. Especially when I was like early teens, like early 20s, teenage years, because I'm still in my early 20s now, but you guys know what I mean, like 20, 21, and below, what that makes younger. Um, that really helped me back then because it started to alleviate that pressure off of me because I understand. I felt like, okay, you know what, my parents, they love me, they support me, they're with me, they're trying to help me work this out. They're trying to help me work through this. They're alongside of me, and um, it's okay. Like they're not disappointing me. They're not. I think sometimes kids just want to hear that. They just want to hear a parent tell their child, like, "We're not disappointed in you. Like it's okay. God has a different plan." And I think the more, as a family, you look at it from a divine perspective, and even if you guys don't believe in God, but looking at it from a more bigger calling, you have to look at it in a bigger way. That'll help alleviate the pressure off of the child or the young adult or whoever. Because I feel like that pressure nowadays is what is really crippling a lot of kids and driving them to do things. Um, that's really sad and really out of their character, and really it's really just I've seen so many people my age, especially just setting themselves back even further. You know, they may have a little they think they're making it right now and they're having fun or out doing things maybe they shouldn't be doing, and but that ends. And a lot of times that started because they were trying to just to find another outlet, another way to cope with their pain. And so, um, but really in the long run, they're just setting themselves up to fail again in a deeper hole. And it's a never ending cycle. But I think the more, if parents can really understand this and really understand a lot of what my dad's going to present to you guys today, I think, yeah, we'll see a lot. I think it will really help you guys. It will really help alleviate that pressure off of not only the child, but you guys as well. But also, I think you can take that message and share your experiences with other people like we're doing today. And so, um, I'm done talking. I just want to introduce this podcast, kind of get some context from my perspective as well. And so, without further ado, I turn it over to my dad, Jersey. Dad, take it away.
Hi, everyone. First of all, thanks, Joseph. But hi, everyone. My name's Joe Latman. You're the host father. Uh, Thanks for having me. Thanks for taking the time. The reason I'm on here is something that, Joseph asked me to do this, kind of a mutual thing, but something that's kind of been on my mind for a long time. And it started through his this 9-year journey of his, things that I've learned and things I feel like just aren't talked about enough. And It's how parents, first of all, I'm not up here to lecture anyone. I'm not telling anyone how to raise their child. I'm just taking my own experience, my own shortcomings as a father, son, brother, friend, whatever. And, the things that my shortcomings have caused for other people, and trying to pass on some kind of information to help others. Because I just don't feel like it's talked about. But it's how parents contribute to anxiety and depression in their children, and why. And you know, my there are a few points that I'm going to highlight and tie into why, uh, in the end, why what we do. But it starts back with things that you know that started in my life, the things that uh, habits I was taught or pressures that I was under as a child, and it just carried on in my adult life. Um, like, like I said, it's not to I'm not telling anyone or acting like I'm some kind of professional up here or some counselor or anything like that. It's just something it's just not talked about, and it's just so rampant in our society, and I see it so much because of my own experience now as a father, and having a child um, for the last 9 years that's dealt with anxiety and panic and agoraphobia, and how crippling it's been. And speaking for myself, and I'll probably speak for Joy on this one, we don't, you when you've endured this, you don't want to see any person, let alone a child, um, to feel that way, feel that kind of pain. And so that's why I'm taking the time to do it. So again, thank you uh, for taking the time and listening. So uh, again, going back to a couple things, how I think parents contribute to uh, anxiety and depression and agoraphobia in their kids, and here just how adults do it to other people. But one of the first point I wanted to say is, and it's something I kind of experienced. I should say kind. I did uh, from a being a young child, is just didn't have a voice. And what I mean by that is, you know, even if I got in trouble for something, my parents maybe thought, my dad thought I did something wrong, and I didn't think I did something wrong. I couldn't say it. It was I couldn't. It wasn't. It just wasn't that. It was couldn't really talk about the things that I liked, things that I want to do as a child, my interests. It just I just never felt like I had a voice. Um, and so, in a one of the byproducts, or just one of the byproducts of that, what that causes in your household, it causes, it becomes no communication between a child and a parent or the parents, um, or really the whole household in general, possibly even involving siblings. But there's just no communication, and that's devastating. I mean, so um, so you have when you have you're not when you're a child and you feel like I know how I felt. And there was times where, man, I was just so enraged when I was being yelled at, and I had to just sit there and take it, because if I didn't, what the consequences would be. I just had to take it. And if I didn't, or if I didn't take it, maybe I was being dishonorable, I was being unruly, or you know. So um so that's why I felt the way, it made me feel a certain way, and what it also does is it helps you, it helps you become overwhelmed with fear as a child. You're just afraid to not only speak your, speak up at home, or say what you, hey, I have interest in this. I want to do this. Can I do this? You're just afraid to do it. And anything as a child. That's what happened with me. And then it carried on to, um, outside of the home. Like I just, I was I was a really quiet kid when I was really young. I didn't, I didn't, I didn't really know how to communicate well with other kids. I mean, I had friends and stuff, but, um, I got in a lot of fights, school, around the neighborhood. Um, it was just I was very dominating, I should say, and, and I had to dominate, and that's just what happened with me, and so, not having that voice, and the worst thing what it does is that you develop bottled up emotion. I think about what I just said a few minutes ago. I mean, I can remember it probably as far back as 5, 6 years old. Um, I had a memory, gosh, this was earlier this year. I was just sitting in the living room one night. Is when I had surgery. So I was laying on a couch just relaxing, and Joy's on the phone with someone, and it just popped in my head. And I remember the memory felt as though the emotion was so strong and so vivid. It was like, gosh, I had to be 5 or 6 years old. This one memory I had, and it felt like I was living in that moment again, the emotion and the anger. And I just remember just saying, having my head down, just taking it, and just, you know, just saying, I mean, just want to kill. And so at that young age, that's where it's starting. And then so, man, I still got a lot of years left in my childhood. And so you think about all that emotion that bottles up, and and bottled up emotion is the primary cause of anxiety. A lot of people don't know that. I didn't know that till just recently, until Joseph told me that. Bottled up emotion is the cause of anxiety. And so, I had a lot of bottled up emotion, and it created, and also not having that voice, it creates anger. Um, you know, I'd say, like I said, most of my childhood I was fighting. Uh, I'd get in fights, and I made sure I finished the fights. I had to finish the fights, is the way I looked at it. And if I was playing football or something, I mean, I didn't. I played to where they didn't want to play with me no more. I mean, I wanted to hurt kids. So, and then I had my older brother, and my older brother's 3 years older than me. if you're someone that doesn't know me, and until this day, we're as close as two brothers can be. I mean, we've been like that our entire life, and I don't know if it's because we both grew up the same way and it's kind of like shared trauma or whatever it was. But to this day, we're as close as two brothers can be. But we fought like brothers do, and we got one alpha trying to take on another alpha, and so there was aggression in me. So and anger started to develop, and that anger, it carried on into my adulthood, and it's still there. It's a lot better than it was because I've actually taken steps to counter it. um but uh it's still there. There's just certain things that still trigger me, and so that's what happens. And and a lot of that, when you're not. And the thing that I really realized, and it was just really just recently, because I think about this stuff a lot, not just because of Joseph, but because there's still issues in me that I'm trying to work through, so I can be a better father, better husband, better friend, better brother, son, you name it. And so when you don't listen to your kids, when that's what you're doing, think of think about if you have a child, and it's your child, and um they're, hey mom or dad, I want to do this, I want to play this sport, I want to play this instrument, or I want to do, and you just oh no, you basically constantly show them that you're not, that's not, you just tell them, here, no, that's not the right thing to do, or that's not what you want to do, you want to do this. Yeah, and it happens every day, whether you're doing it to your child, or people that are doing it there. You've seen it. We've all seen it. It happens constantly. So, um, but not having a voice, a kid can speak. They can speak all they want, but if we're not listening, they don't have a voice. It's pointless for them to speak. And how do we do that to them if we just stay so focused on what we want for them, what we think is best for them in our own minds, what we think is best? They have no voice. And I'm saying this because, this is, I would say, I'm gonna speak for myself. A lot of Joseph's life was like this. You know, from the time he was born, you know, I I had this vision of what my son was gonna be like, and how he was gonna be viewed, and what people would think of him, and he was gonna go to this school, and he was going to this high school, and he was gonna do this when he got older, and and I stuck to it, and it and it caused a lot of time where I just wasn't listening. He had no voice because I wasn't listening. Now, we had a great relationship growing up. I mean, we still do. We're like, I mean, my wife's my best friend, but then, my kids are my best friends. I mean, after that, I mean, but Joseph and I are, he's 24 years old from the time he was born. And it's like that. And the same thing with Julia. I mean, I live and breathe. That's only the thing I get up for is my wife and my 2 kids. If anyone knows me, you know how I think about it and how passionate I am about it. And I'm probably like a lot of men and women, but um, that's what I think about. That's what propels me. That's what gets me out of bed. That's what makes me do what I do, no matter what, and just in a relentless manner. Um, so always been close with him. We did everything together. Uh, you know, worked outside together. Went to played so many games together, the mall together. We just did everything together, watch games. I mean, we were like best friends. But, I loved my son, my kid so much, but in this case, I loved my son so much that I inadvertently started planning his life, what I thought was best for him. And he was doing everything that I wanted him to do, or everything that I didn't get to do. So, when I reflect on Joseph being a child, he didn't. really Joseph didn't have a voice. He didn't get to really say how he felt. Joseph basically lived to please other people, primarily dad. So, um, and it's a huge reason. I don't know if maybe I should say huge, but it is a reason why he's he's experienced what he's experienced in these last 9, 10 years. Okay. Uh, but on the flip side of, we're talking about having a voice, we kind of we learn from it. With Julia, it's Julia's always had a voice. Julia's always been listened to. We didn't make that same mistake. You know, even I mean, whatever she's interested in, I'm interested in, and I'm encouraging her. What we've done with her was just encourage. Joseph, it was decision made. This is it. This is what we got to do to make it happen. Didn't live in the moment. At least with Julia, we've lived in the moment and we've encouraged her every step of the way. Uh, Whatever she doesn't want to do, I'm with her. You know, I just want Julia to to just be uh, a servant first and foremost to others, and just love people and be a good human being, and just do the best job she can. Okay, in her schoolwork. So there's we don't even think about after high school. As far as way high school went with Joseph, I decided the day he was born. With Julia, we didn't do that. She's a freshman now, but when it came to high school, it was something that had been on my mind for several years. And you want it to be right this time. You want it as right as possible because of what happened. I'm not blaming the school for Joseph, the high school he went to, but you have that memory. And you just don't want to have that again with your child or any child, especially your own child. And so, we when it came to having to make that decision, which high school she was going to, and our kids have been in private school their entire lives. So that's why I'm saying that we had to make a decision which school for her to go to. You know, we asked Julia to say, "Hey, let's go look at let's do what we didn't do with your brother. Let's go look at multiple schools and then we'll pray about it. As a family, we'll pray about it and we'll let time pass and and God will let us know which route to go." And that's what happened in that case. And that's what we did. And where she's at now, it's great. So far, we love it. She loves it. She went back to her I don't know, a month or so ago, she went back to her K through 8 school where Joy works, and, I saw one of the teachers, she's just worked there forever. I saw her teacher at Lowe's after, and she said, "Man, she goes, "I haven't seen Julia that happy in a long time." So far, we love it. Um, and it wasn't what I ever thought. It just shows you how you don't when you think you have the plan, you don't have the plan. God has his plan, and either you're going to seek his will or you're not. And if you don't, good luck. So w- when I'd be praying about it, I just wanted his will. And so she's in a place where at first I was kind of afraid. And, I had just various reasons why I didn't want to go there. Uh, but it's so far it's worked out great and it feels really good. So kind of going away, we've learned and we're doing a much better job. So just want to, and thus far don't see any of the things that we saw in Joseph at that age. Julia is just very strong-willed, very confident, uh, very independent. She knows what she wants. She wants to be an attorney, uh, and she's very focused on achieving what she wants to do. So, but that goes back to just the confidence. Her confidence wasn't stripped away from her. So, just kind of like an insight of, I guess, the byproduct of what happens when you parent one way and then the byproduct of another one. So, hopefully, you know, we included God much more, and and it seems like the fruits are there. So, but I just wanted to talk about that, just the not having the voice and just the repercussions of what it does. And it's not so much, like I said, the kid not being able to verbally speak. You have to be listening, and that's just not with children, just anything in life. If you don't listen to others, they don't have a voice, and it just doesn't stop at childhood. It factors all the way up in their adult. It's happened with me. To this day, if I don't feel like my voice is being heard, I get upset. Some people deal with that differently, better than I do. I don't. I've gotten better, but it can get me upset, get me angry, and I've even left a job handful of years ago that I thought I'd never leave, and it was very difficult. And it was I mean, it was a very difficult thing to do. It almost been like a grieving period for a year and a half, but I ultimately left because didn't have a voice. And I would speak up, and I was the one that would speak up in management. I would speak up for what was best, what I thought was best for everyone and what needed to happen. And people would sit in the same room with me, but they weren't really listening. They already were focused on what they thought was best. And so, you know, I would get angry, but then it stopped. It went from anger to I just left. So that's how I would deal with it. I'd get angry or just take myself out of the situation. So, but it's gotten better over the years, but there's still times where I feel like if I don't have I'm not being listened to. I get pissed, and and that goes back all the way back to my childhood. So, and that's just um, that's just one adverse effect from that. So I just want to share that and just why I'm speaking of. Just it's just from experience, but I saw what it over the years, especially in the last 9 years, what it did to me. I started to see the same things happen to Joseph, and I also see it happening to other. There's people, obviously, I know a lot of people because of business I'm in, or other friends we have, or other people we've been around, or been certain places, and we've not necessarily around people that I consider my friends, but I may watch what's going on with their children because all of this sticks out like a sore thumb now. But I see it happen to other kids, or I just see it. I can be out in a public place, in a restaurant, and I just see how parents belittling their children. Uh, the things they're saying to the children, just shredding them, and it's just horrible because I sit and I think about how does that kid feel? How are they going to feel? The pain that they're gonna have to deal with, and will they possibly, start dealing with the things that Joseph's dealt with, and could it get worse for them? You know, Joseph, by the grace of the Lord, has come out on the other end of this and never, he's had a. It's been a really tough 9 years. It's been a lot of pain and sleepless nights, and for him, and just I could just go on and on and on and on. But, you know, but he's come out ahead. He did it the right way. He always said to me, "Dad, I don't want to cope. I want to heal." And he's taken those measures and he's turned it. You know, he's developed gratitude for what he has, and he's realized his calling. He's went through this for a reason, and that's to help others. So, you don't. There's a lot of people who don't have that hope, or they don't have that relationship, or they don't have that, so they end up doing terrible things that are terrible to themselves or other people. So, um, this is just one of the effects. This is just one of the points I wanted to highlight because I felt like it was a big deal for me, and it has been a big deal. And I think Joy would probably say the same thing. I've heard her make comments about not having a voice. Um, I'm not speaking for her, but I think probably a lot of people watching this are going to say the same thing. So, um, and then the other thing that I would The other main point, and this is something I've learned through this whole ordeal. I've never thought, I never thought about any of this, but this second point I never thought of. I never even heard the word until I heard this from Joseph a handful of years back, and it's perfectionism. And if you look at like the definition of perfectionism, refusal to accept any standard short of perfection. From a philosophical side, a doctrine holding religious, underscore that because I'll touch on that in a little bit, religious, moral, social, or political perfection is attainable, especially the theory that human moral and spiritual perfection has to be attained. Now, think about that. Why does anyone have to be perfect or strive for perfection? You always hear that, strive for perfection. Why? What do you gain? Number one, you can't be perfect. You're not going to be perfect. No one's ever been perfect other than Jesus Christ. No one ever will be perfect. So why set yourself up to fail and and set your kids up to fail? Strive for perfection. And you can say, well, they're not going to hit perfect, but I want to feel that, come close to it. Why? You're just setting them up. Yes, you want your kid you want your kids to be good human beings and have a good work ethic and character and integrity. But I don't know if I'd ever use that word perfect. And you don't have to use that word perfect because a lot of just uh, the way you raise them or things you do or certain standards you hold it to them, you're making him live through perfectionism. So um, it just sets the standards too high. They're just too high. And when your standards are too high, it's just not as a childhood, but we're basis what we're talking about. This goes on any level of even from adulthood. When you the standards are so high, when you set them too high, you constantly fail. Okay, and it's okay to fail. Okay, I think there's a difference being okay with failing as long as you just did your best. But when you sit there, when you go to extraordinary measures to try to achieve perfection and you fall short and you keep falling short because that's what happens. It's just not one time. It's everything you do. If a child is living through that type of mentality, they're falling short on everything they do. Now imagine how they feel when it keeps happening. They can't please anyone. They can't please themselves. They start to feel like a failure. They feel like they have that they're worthless. That's what it does. And so, it's and it's just not that. It's like it's all aspects of life. It just doesn't have to be school or sports. I mean, it can be anything. I mean, it can be a status where you want what kind of profession you want your kid to have. It just life's That's just not how life works. We never thought, when Joseph was born and I'm making all these plans for his life. I never thought, okay, at 15 years old, he's going to start having major panic attacks and be stricken to his home. Things happen in life, but how do you deal with them, or what could you have done? You know, there's no perfect parent. There's no Obviously we always hear there's no book that says how to perfectly parent a kid because you can't, especially with your first one. That's where you're learning the most. But, you know, I think the thing that may have helped me, if there was someone talking about it, I knew nothing about this. All I knew was I'm gonna stay on schedule for what I think is best for my kid, and nothing's getting in the way of it. And so, um, it's just not how it works. It just doesn't. I think everyone knows it just doesn't work that way. There's just curveballs coming nonstop. So, you know, why set your kid up for that? Now, what can you do? Here's what I did, uh, inadvertently, really. You know, I started to, probably about 5 years, almost 6 years ago. I was, uh, I was on vacation. It was in the middle of summer, and we didn't go anywhere. We were home, and I was running around like a chicken, my head cut off, working outside, I'd be getting up at 5 a.m., 5:30 in the morning, getting to Lowe's at 6 a.m., picking up pavers, going outside at the house, setting pavers, doing whatever, building a stone wall. And I'd be at work at 8:30, work 15 hours a day, and get up and do it again. And because it just had to be done at a certain time and a certain way. And that's just the kind of lifestyle I was living. And Joy would be telling me, "Here, you need to slow down. I need to slow down," and I just wouldn't. And I'd be waking up at 4 a.m. thinking about things like I remember when the house we live in now, we bought this house and it had, uh when we bought it, when we finally took possession of it, there was ivy beds all over the place, um, and they were all full of poison ivy. And when we looked at the house, a month or so prior, is the time period of the time it was spring, there wasn't any. But so when we take possession, we come back and there's just poison ivy everywhere in these beds. Now, you can't go in and pull poison ivy by hand with these ivy beds. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, I got to get rid of all this ivy. And some of these beds, I got one bed on the side of our driveway. It's like a 1,200 square foot bed, and it was just full of ivy. And and if anybody's ever pulled ivy out of the ground, that stuff is woven into the ground. So I'm like, I got to get this ivy out of there. I'm laying in bed at 4 a.m. thinking about how to get this ivy out of these beds. This is how I thought. This is how high strung I was, and just something so stupid, I'm laying around stressing about at 4 a.m. And so, needless to say, that the ivy we got the ivy out of the bed, but that kind of mentality, that when I was off that following summer, I came in a house one time and I said to Joy, I said, "What do you think about me?" And here, prior to that, I never thought I needed any kind of professional help or counselor. I just thought, my way of thinking was the right way of thinking. And so I come in and I say, "Hey, what do you think about me going to a counselor?" And she says, "Well, why?" And I tell her. So I start going, and if anyone doesn't really know, if you've never been to one, it's not really what you think. It wasn't what I thought. You really do all the work yourself. They just help guide you through it. You get in there and you start talking, just start rambling, and just all these dots start to connect, and you start to find all your vulnerabilities and uh, your insecurities and where they may have came from, and once you do that, you really get on a course to starting to heal yourself so you can help other people. Once you start to do that, you really become more effective, or I should say effective, but you become, at least I did, I became more passionate about it, about helping other people. And maybe it's because I just didn't, I start to think about other people. Like when you start to really see how you feel, you're like, man, I want other people to feel that way. So either way, just, my I realized my passions around that time period, and it was people, and, just being around people and being a servant to other people and helping other people, and, so, um, that's what's kinda led me to doing this, what I'm doing. So, like I said, I'm just some average person, so I'm just a dad, I'm not I don't even know if I'm right. I think I'm right about this, from my experience. I think, experience is the best teacher in life. But and I'm sure there's a lot of points I'm leaving out, and there's other things that lead in that could contribute to this, and there's other things that could help than what I'll say. But I'm just trying to just give some advice. It's just something that's been on my mind for a long time, and I was sitting in church. I don't know, probably it's probably back in the summer, And a lot of times, I'll sit and I'll pastor will be talking, or we might be up singing, worshiping, and I'll, my mind, I'll start to think about different things, certain people, and I started thinking about this that one day, and like, why is this not talked about? You know, you have these like men's Bible studies and things like that, which is great, and in churches and stuff, but maybe there needs to be more pastors, more leaders of men and women, uh, or anybody, I should say, teachers, coaches, whatever, you name it, anybody, I guess, to talk about this because this is. I mean, we all know someone or several people that are dealing with mental uh, conditions right now that could have been helped, or may not have had to happen at all. But it's just, you think about children, and you think about all of everything that they see, the media content, everything they see on social media, TV, magazines, just the pressures and what they have to live up to. If you take young girls, seems to me like young girls, everything that is just pounded into their heads is they have to look a certain way, they gotta dress a certain way, they gotta act a certain way, they gotta take, selfies a certain way. And if they don't, they're not gonna be allowed. They're just uh, they'll be shunned, and it won't be accepted. And then you talk about boys, I mean, uh, we have this. I mean, fathers in the United States of America have this obsession with sports, and sports are great. I played sports growing up, and I love sports to this day. Joseph played sports, multiple sports. Julius played some sports. Joy played sports. I mean, sports are great. There's a lot of great things that come out of sports, life changing things. But we idolize it as fathers. And that's what I mean, if you ask 8 out of 10 fathers in this country, "Hey, what do you want your son to do when he gets older?" 8 out of 10 parents, be a professional athlete, some kind of professional athlete. Why not some other kind of profession? Why not just say, "Hey, I want to be a counselor. I want to be a teacher. I want to be a lawyer." You name anything where they're working and contributing. I don't care if I want to work in food service. You know, there's nothing wrong. Somebody's working. That's all that matters, and they're contributing. That's all that matters. If they're doing everything that they can, we don't. So we don't really teach that. I mean, it's so young boys. You go to Dick's Sporting Goods. I mean, I was just saying this the other night. I mean, it's just the merchandise that's available for even in young girls now, but it's just insane the amount of money that's spent on it. I know it because I did it, and it's just this. You just again, you ask 8 out of 10 men, and they'd say a sport. I want to be a quarterback. I want to be a professional football player. I want to play basketball. Or they actually really believe that their kid is going to be. Here, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I mean, it's good to, I guess, have belief in your kid, but don't let them know it. I mean, let have belief in them, but just don't let it pertain to, hey, kid, hey, son, you're going to be a pro athlete. Not only are you going to have to win the genetic lottery, not only if you want to be a basketball player, you want to be a forward, you're going to have to be about 6'7", 6'8". Even though your mom and I'm 5'9", your mom's 5'4", nobody in our family is 6'8", but you're gonna have to be about 6'8", 200 pounds, and you're gonna have to put all this work in, and it's just so much more that's gonna have to happen for it's just setting up false expectations and standards for your kid. And I used to coach. When I coach youth sports, and I used to see that. I mean, parents were just obsessed with it. They lived through their kids, and they thought their kids they really I mean, if their kid wasn't getting a certain amount of playing time, they'd throw a fit because they really believed that their kid at that young age, from what they've seen at that young age, was gonna make it was gonna get lightning in a bottle and go pro. And so and I'd see it on the kids' faces. I mean, I'd see kids that were Gosh, I remember, we had this one kid that, played baseball in quite a few years, and his dad was one of the coaches, and, gosh, if he and he would always be pitching, and if he walked a kid or he got himself in a rut and he had 2 or 3 batters in a row getting on base, I mean, he would start to melt down in fear of his father, and it just wasn't him. I just seen it every day, all day. You know, I'll talk about a case where when Joseph was playing football, oh gosh, I think he was probably 11 or so at the time. And when I was young, Joseph's not an aggressive person by no means, like, as far as like his attitude or how he treats people, or always been very mild mannered, um, just not an aggressive person. I, on the other hand, as a child, g- growing up, was aggressive. You know, I had an older brother. We used to fight all the time. I used to fight in the neighborhood. We were just aggressive. I was aggressive. When I got in a fight with somebody, I had to win, and I made sure I won, and I made sure uh, I got myself in position to win. I mean, it was like that even in sports. I had to win. If I hit, when I was playing football, if I hit you, you were going to feel it. You were going to hurt. It's just I was aggressive, you know, and I liked aggressive things. So I can remember this day, uh, football practice, and I was one of the coaches, and um, he got put on defense in this practice. So just didn't play a lot of defense because, head coach, Coach John, Joseph played center his whole. He was center every year he played, and it's like John used to always say, "Man, he's got such great hands," and I don't want him playing defense. I don't want to get hurt his hand, because there'd be cases if we were on vacation or if he was sick and he wasn't at practice. I mean, practice was pretty much shut down. We couldn't scrimmage because we couldn't get somebody to effectively snap the ball. There'd be a lot of botch snaps or snapped over to the quarterback's head. So he was really good at that, and so he was limited as far as his time on defense. So he gets in, they put him in, they decide to put him in on defense, and he's not hitting as hard as some of the other kids on the team, or as hard as I used to hit, and or he's a little apprehensive going in some of the drills, and so I'm just sitting there like boiling about it. And so we get in the car, and I'm just going off on him on the way home. And I'm not thinking at the moment like what I just said, that he's just not an aggressive kid. All I know is I hadn't even thought about that. That had not crossed my mind. But all I know is it was the perception of my son around other fathers, other coaches. Oh, they may think he's soft, or, you know, or, you know, I want my kid to hit the hardest. I want my kid to be feared the most. And, those are things that probably carried on to when he got into high school, and came off as adverse. He's afraid to make a mistake. He was afraid he couldn't live up. He wasn't doing what dad wanted him to do. So it's just a level. Again, that's just another example of like, and it probably just wasn't that night. It's probably other nights too. But I just remember that one in particular, and it just wasn't with sports. It was other things too. It was, hey, you got to do this to get into this school, and you got to get to this high school, and once you get into high school, you got to do this to get into certain college, and you got to do this, and just these are things we just shouldn't talk about with kids that age. You want to teach them to work hard as they just work as hard as you can. Just work as hard as you can. Don't hurt anyone. Be kind to everyone. Be a great, you know what I mean? Love people. Be a servant. First and foremost, have a servant's mentality. Our whole purpose here is to help others. That's why we're here. And that's one thing. Those are things that we have tried to teach both of our children. And so not you got to get you got to get this degree. You got to be working towards this profession, or it's just what it's doing to the children. They're just constantly falling short, and it's psychologically hurting them. So, and what happens is when these all of these adverse things start to happen in their mind as they get older, and they start to feel like they're not good enough, or they feel like they don't fit in, or they're being shut out, they start to feel anxiety, and they have all this emotions bottled up. So they feel anxiety, and they don't know what it is. They don't know the sensations. They don't most people, a lot of people that have anxiety, because I can spot it from a mile away now. And I can see people, I've met many people in my life by talking to them, and I'll see it. I'll see the way they're acting, or the way they're speaking, the rate that they're speaking, or some of their actions, and I'll just ask them, and it'll come out. Yeah, this is how I'm feeling, and they'll say, "Well, I also feel like this too," and that's all of the symptoms of, when you're feeling anxiety, and then anxiety turns to panic. You know, one thing I learned from Joseph is a panic attack is the closest thing to dying in your mind without dying. That's how it feels. I've had a couple in my life years ago. Didn't know what they were at the time. I mean, I had one where I thought I was dying. I literally thought I was dying at that moment. But so, and then the more they have them, and they can turn into agoraphobia, which is what Joseph is now. He's post anxiety now. He's working through the agoraphobia, which is, you're afraid of being in public places. You're afraid of what people may think of you if you start to panic. So these there's just so many things that can happen to these kids, and there's worse things that can happen to them. If they continue to not have support, or no one's listening to them, then it gets worse for them. And then they may take their life, or whomever. That's the word. You don't want to talk about that, but there's worse things that can happen. So, those are just like two things that I really felt like I experienced um, in my life, that was, I had to live through or live up to. Um, and I kind of did the same thing, especially the perfectionism with Joseph. I probably did more of the perfectionism than my father did. Probably gave more of a voice to Joseph than my father gave to me. So, but it's just it's not a good feeling, because the perfectionism, it creates an internal pressure to avoid failure, and or judgment. What I mean? Should anyone live that way? I mean, you shouldn't be living your life to avoid failure. I went back to a little bit ago and said, it's okay to fail. I mean, you should have enough confidence to be okay with failing. The key is the confidence. These other two things, not having a voice or perfectionism, strip confidence right away. So then you can't handle the failure. What's failing, anyways? There's no failing. Is there such a thing as failing? I don't think there is. There's lessons. Another thing I've learned from my son. There's wins and there's lessons. It's just a lesson. It's not a failure. So, but we perceive it as a failure when we feel that way. So we're afraid of failure and being judged. Shouldn't really matter. It shouldn't really, if you're, if your mind is sound, you shouldn't really be too concerned with that. So, just, it just, you know, it, these kids start to feel this stuff at that age, and just and it can carry on the rest of their life. And my goal is just try to help someone. Just try to help someone. Maybe somebody's this is going on in their house now, or they know someone, or what, or they have a child that, and that somebody said to me the other night, and I commend the person. He actually called himself out for doing this with his son. We weren't even talking about this, but he brought up, and it's someone I know pretty well, and he's a great man. He's a wonderful man, good God fearing. He's a good Christian man, and he's not just because he's not a good man because he's a Christian, but he is a good Christian. He's a Christian man, and he tries to live his life that way. He tries to he doesn't walk around and feel like he doesn't condemn other people, or feel like he's he doesn't have this self-righteous mentality. He just keeps himself and tries to do the best job he can. And and I really respect him. So he kind of brought this up, and and it kind of set me in motion where I started talking about things. I just kind of went on because this is just something that's kinda ironic. I've been thinking about it, and I'm very passionate about children feeling this way for obvious reasons. So, but he, he said that. He said, "Man, I catch myself doing this, and I shouldn't be doing this." And so I took the moment to talk to him and or just talk about what I've done wrong and just trying to hope that maybe he catches something from it. Not I was by no means condemning. He knows that. I would never condemn. And so and he'll watch this and he'll know who I'm talking about. But it was just great. And Joseph said the same thing. It was just great. It was refreshing to see another grown adult, another man already catching it. And maybe, I don't know, maybe it's because he's known me through these last 9 years and I've talked to him. So ex- uh, I've been very, people know me. If you know me, I'm a pretty candid person, I should say. I pretty much talk about anything. I don't really hide anything. Probably sometimes too candid, but I've people who know me that I know really well, guys I consider my friends. Uh, they know a lot about what's went on the last 9 years. So, and a lot of what I'm saying up here, they've probably heard. They've heard me say it already. So, but it was just refreshing to hear another parent uh, self-examining, just saying, "Man, I might be doing this to my son." So that's what just needs to happen, and hopefully, like I said, something I can say here, maybe somebody will do that, and if it's just one child, it's worth it. You know, if you've like I said, um, if you've never dealt with what Joseph has dealt with, or other people that deal with it, or if you've never dealt with it personally or had some in your immediate family, you don't it's gonna be very difficult for you to understand how stricken it is and what I mean. So, and it's a very real thing, and it's very debilitating, and it's very hard, and it takes tremendous patience. And so, it's just I don't ever want to see another child have just a fraction of that pain. Um, I just don't want to see that, and you know, we have to hold ourselves accountable as parents, and we have to pay attention to our kids, and we have to listen to our children. We have to encourage our children. We got to be affectionate with our children. Our children got to know we love them, we care for them, that we'll do anything for them, that we're supportive of them. And I just think we just as a whole we get caught up with all of these distractions. So, um, you know, I guess, and here it's and here another thing. What I just talked about, what we need to do. A thing that I learned through all this. I learned so much through all this. Here, 9 years ago, hell, even probably 3 years ago, 4 years ago, I couldn't have sat up here and said what I'm saying. I've kind of, like I said, Joseph probably has a PhD in this now, but I've been educated greatly on it. But being vulnerable is a huge thing, and it's what better way to make someone feel at ease for their own uh, lessons, non-wins, shortcomings, uh, just feeling like they fell short. What better way to communicate or make them know that it's okay by sharing your own, you know? So be vulnerable with your kids. I'm not saying tell them everything in your life. I mean, there's certain things kids don't need to know, but um it's but that's the thing that's certainly missing is just be vulnerable. It's okay to it's great. It's a sign of strength, I'd say. It's something I've had to learn. Just be vulnerable. Tell them about, here, this is what I did wrong, and it's okay. Or this is where I fell short, but it's okay. This is how I learned from it. You know what I mean? I mean, it's and then they don't because kids will see their parents as, you know, most kids will see their parents as just like almost infallible, like they do no wrong or they're perfect. And so this person that they or their teachers or coaches or mentors or other people in their lives, siblings, they if they hold them to such a high standard, they see them as just absolute perfect people, and then that same person puts tremendous standards on them. How does it make them feel when they just live a normal life and don't achieve that standard? It really makes them feel worse. So that's where I'm gonna kind of segue back into what I said when I gave the definition of perfectionism when I talked about religious. Yeah, I'm not attacking any uh, any any religion at all. I'm a Christian. Anybody knows me. If you don't know me, I'm a Christian. I've been a Christian my entire life. I dedicated my life to Christ at 7 years old. Rededicated my life 2 more times after that. And what I mean by that is I accepted Christ as my Lord and Savior, and I believe that Christ is the Son of God. Um, he shed his blood on the cross for our sins, and resurrected 3 days later, and ascended into heaven. And so that's what I believe. And so I'm not, and it doesn't matter what religion you are. I'm not degrading any religion, but what I'm going to say is from experience and what I've seen in certain institutions, whether it be churches or schools, that's where a lot of the perfectionism, if you really want to, if you wanted to just kind of say, man, it's really prevalent in a certain area, I think that's where that's a spot is certain churches, not defined by whether they're Catholic or Lutheran or Baptist or non-denominational, whatever. Just certain ones improperly led, not following uh, God's word the way they should. Where you get people that just like to condemn for whatever reason. I don't know if it's to make them feel better. They haven't addressed their shortcomings or their skeletons or whatever. They haven't come clean to God. Whatever it is, there's we all know it. There's people that sit out and they just sit on a pulpit and they condemn other people. Or not even to that extent. You may just get people that they indirectly, they think being a Christian is or another type of, I don't really know a whole lot about other religions. I'm just gonna say Christianity. Um, they think it's okay, it's perfection. It's not. Never meant to be, never will be. There's only one perfect person that's ever walked this earth, and it'll never change, and that's Christ. The basis of Christianity is love, first and foremost. Is to love your neighbor, love everyone. Okay. So it's not to condemn or it's not to hold people to a standard or strive for perfection. That's not it. Yes, you want to try to live a Christ-like life. Um, and what that means is not striving for perfection. What that means is Christ never talked about, the 33 years he was on earth, he never talked about that he was perfect. He just constantly showed examples of loving people. He talked about loving your brother, your neighbor, having humility. That's what Christ talked about. So it can get misconstrued in some of these religious institutions where a kid just, oh man, uh, I did this wrong. I said this wrong thing, and man, I'm a terrible person. I let everyone down, and sometimes, and a lot of times, they're kind of condemned, or there's repercussions for doing something that's not really that big of a deal, not really hurting someone, not doing something very immoral, or it's just I've seen that where it's just small things. A boy may get in a fight. The boys might be boys. They might be outside playing ball, and you know, one of them gets hit the wrong way, his ear rubbed the wrong way, gets irritated, gets hit, and he lashes out and hits a kid. I used to do it. I seen it happen all the time. And all of a sudden, he's suspended for 3 days. Oh my gosh, he's got to go before the principal. He's got to write a written explanation why. These are things I just don't agree with. I mean, what is that doing to a child? You know what I mean? All they have to say is you can just sit them down and just say, "Hey, listen, I understand you were upset and you were angry at that moment. You know, wouldn't it be better?" Not use the term "you should do this." We always hear that too. You should, you should, you should. Wouldn't it be better had you just took a second to just take a breather and realize it was just an accident and not punch him in the mouth? Wouldn't it have been better? Wouldn't you agree? And probably 9 out of 10 kids would say, "Yeah, you're right." And just say, "Okay, let's have little Billy come in here and you guys make up and you guys get go out and play some ball again." All right. Because that's how it was when I grew up. I mean, we get in fights all the time on the field. 5 minutes later, we're playing, we're having a good time, spending the night at each other's house. You know what I mean? So it doesn't have to be any different now. It's just we as adults make it different. And again, especially in some of these religious institutions where there's just ultra high levels of perfectionism. And so you see it, you know, when when Joseph first started going to a counselor, uh, that particular counselor we've seen at that time, that particular counselor said, "We have a lot of kids from a particular school," which school he went to. And I mean, there's a lot of great people there. I'm not saying it's a bad school or anything, but there was standards were super, super high to the point where it just seemed like it wasn't fun for kids. You know what I mean? And that's a key, like these kids, they gotta have fun. Kids have got to have fun. Don't we want to have fun in everything we do? They deserve to have fun. And so we need to make sure they're having fun and having all of these, not having your voice heard, not feeling like you're good enough, having all these super high standards so you don't embarrass the family. That's not fun. So, you know, I would say, and I'm gonna kind of start to end this, but why do we do this? Just these two little things I highlighted, not having a voice or not listening to your child, and then perfectionism. But why do we do it? What's the underlying reason why we end up doing this? And it's chasing vanity. And if you don't, here, I kind of pulled up the definition of that. So for someone that, here, the definition is inflated pride in oneself or one's appearance, conceit, something that is vain, empty, or valueless. Another definition, having an excessively high opinion of one's own attainments and qualities, or excessive desire for the praise of others, regardless of whether it's deserved or not. Almost sounds like social media, definition of social media. But um, that's why, and I could be wrong on this, but if you really just think about it in a logical manner, why do you know why did I not hear my son's voice? Why was I pushing so hard for him to achieve certain things? Why did I hold him to such a level of uh of perfection and make him chase that and have these high standards? If there was anyone else in this, if we lived on an island by ourselves, would I have done that? No, I wouldn't have. If we knew no one, I wouldn't have done that. But that's why we did it. It was just, I should say we. I'm gonna speak for myself. I won't speak for Joy because I was the main one pushing this. But it was all about, man, what would people say about my son? I wanted people to say a certain thing, have a certain perception of him, his accolades, and his achievements, and you know, and and it's not just like that's what it is. And the worst part of it is it's just what the definition said. There's no real value, and it's totally worthless. Vanity's worthless. What do you gain by it? I mean, in this world, I guess you make some money off of it, but I don't know if anybody would. I don't know anyone that would sit there and say, "Hey, I do all this just to make some money." I guess if you do that, You're free to do what you want, but it's empty. It's worthless, and at some point, it's gonna end, and it's unsustainable, you know? So, when we just can't, when we live a life to where we're trying to please everyone around us, where whether it's on social media, or, uh, anything, just don't have to be there, but just it's all about appeasing that perception of ourselves. What do people think about us? Think about why people get on social media and do what they do. You never see, because that's really that alone. No, and social media is not. Some people use social media for great things, work purposes, or you know, uh, Joseph uses it to spread positive things. Um, but I don't know if it's a good thing to. You never see someone post the hardships of life, or where they did something wrong, or something that's not uh, perceived as good. You don't see people post their bankruptcy letter. You don't see people tell you how many times a bill collector called their house. You don't see people tell you about post about what something terrible they did to someone. You don't see that. Um, it's just this grand illusion, and it's not good in a couple different ways. It's if you're you have to look at why do you only if you're someone that does that. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not condemning anyone. I'm just trying to get people to think. Um, but if you do that, like, why? You ever ask yourself, why am I doing this constantly? Why am I showing how much? Why am I letting people know, have an idea of how much money I earn, or I'm on this exotic vacation, or we bought this car, our kid uh, is going to this school, or what? Why? I mean, I could see if someone showed everything in their life. I'm not a proponent of that, but I'm just saying they showed everything in their life, because no one lives this perfect life. But think about that. It goes back to this chasing of this of vanity. Why do you? Why would one want to constantly do that? And on the other side of it is, think about when people are on there, and that's all they see is, you know the wonderful things in life. What everyone really wants to, all of the possessions, and just everything, just the grandiose of life, okay? And when you see that constantly, but you can be looking at a screen, but real life doesn't go away, and about the hardships in your life. There might be somebody that's ill, might be a terminal diagnosis, there might be, somebody, you may have lost your job. You might be behind on bills, whatever it is that's going on that's not very favorable in your life, it's still there. But then when you sit and you constantly, every day, you just see, it just seems like everyone else is living this great life and you're not. What's that doing to you subconsciously? It's not having a good effect on you. It can't have a good effect on you. So it's vanity, though. It's the constant pursuit of vanity, and um, it's just it's everything in life. I mean, it's what all of us do it. We've all been caught up in it, or are caught up in it. I mean, it's what makes us consumers. That's all we do. We work to spend money. Someone, my pastor at our church, this earlier this year, gave a sermon, and he said, he was talking about giving, and he said, I never thought of this, but he said, wouldn't it be better if you strive to earn more money to give it away than to buy possessions or add more money in savings, your 401k, 529 account, IRA, which are all good things. But what he was talking about was, you know, the fulfillment of giving. And so, wouldn't it be better? And I never thought about that. And I thought, man, I would, it's a hard thing to do, but that'd be a great thing, a point to get to in life. Joy and I talked about that. Like, man, that would be great. Like if you got to the point where you worked because you had a goal you wanted to give X amount of money to, I don't know, St. Jude's Hospital or your church or whatever. You just had this goal. You wanted to give X amount away to this year. And that's what drove you. It wasn't to gain more, it was to give more. Imagine that. Imagine the happiness and the fulfillment in life. That's the total opposite. And not to broadcast it, because that's definitely not the spirit of it. That's null and void of what you're doing. Shouldn't be doing those kinds of things or volunteering time, whatever you do, and just telling everyone about what you're doing because you're seeking glorification for yourself. It's null and void. But if you could get to that point where you were earning more to give more, that's kind of the opposite of vanity because it ties into what I'm going to say is I think the antidote to that is just servanthood. What I talked about earlier. I have realized in my life, and here what I do now. Some of you people you know me, and there's people that probably watch this that don't know me, but the ones that do know me, I don't even really. You've heard me say this probably. I don't even love the business that I'm in anymore. I don't know if I ever really have. Um, I mean, I go to work, but I go to serve. I go to serve my internal customers, which are my employees, and my external customers, which are the customers. I go to be in the trenches with my people. I go to help them earn a living. I go to be there when they need an ear, when they got something tough going on in their life. And they just need somebody to talk to. I mean, because we're together a lot of hours each week. So, to help someone who sees themselves here get to here, or help them grow in their profession, and they come back and they say to you, 5 years later, 10 years later, 15 years later, man, it's like, man, you said this. This really helped me. That is the ultimate fulfillment in life. And it don't matter what you have or what you don't have. You can have nothing, no possessions, no money. You can lay your head down at night and just have total peace. Some of the happiest people, and what you have, possessions or whatnot, it doesn't determine your happiness. But some of the happiest people I've ever seen, they have nothing. They have very little people they can call their friends. They don't have any possessions. They don't have any money in savings, but they're fine with it. They don't chase vanity. They're just fine. They're just content with who they are, you know, and just want to make an honest way through life, and don't condemn other people. They're just happy people, and they live in peace. And on the other hand, and I'm not saying because some of the best people I've seen have a lot of possessions, and they've earned a lot, and they've been financially successful. So I'm not saying anything wrong about that. But I've seen a lot of people that have lived their life chasing outlandish goals revolving around money and possessions and achievements and accolades. And they achieve these, and they're just miserable people. They've probably hurt everyone else around them. Maybe not, but they've certainly set themselves up to have no rest because there's always somebody that's going to have more. If that's what you're striving for, there's always someone that's going to have more. There's always somebody in a nicer house. There's always somebody with more money. There's always somebody more decorate. more decorated. There's always someone. So you never get peace. And it's chasing vanity. Why do you want all that? It's vanity because of how you're perceived. And so, why did I say that they probably hurt a lot of people around them? Because they do, especially their children. And then they want their children to live an even greater life. What parent doesn't want their kid to have a better life than they had? Almost every parent does. I don't know any parent that doesn't. So what they do is they put an even greater standard on their child. I mean, gosh, most children think, like I said, they think their parents are infallible, the greatest thing in the world. They're their heroes. And now you're telling them, hey, you got to be greater than me. Not that you're not that great. I mean, I don't think I'm great or anything. I'm just, like I said, I'm just an average guy. I try to do my best, try to be the best father I can be, you know, parent, friend. But I'm just a regular cat, you know. So, um, but I'm sure my kids see me differently. Um, and I don't, you know. So think about that. Just hey, you know, hey, son or daughter, hey, you gotta do this. You got to be better than me. I mean, it's just let them be kids. Let them have fun. Let them live in the moment. That's another thing I've learned. I used to not live in the moment. All I thought about was tomorrow, a week later, a year later, and I struggle with that to this day. That's one of my struggles, is worrying about the next day or down the road instead of just living in the moment and enjoying life, enjoying everything that's been given to me because it's been great, just enjoying it. Let your children enjoy it. Just let them be kids. God, you just remember what it used to be like when you were a kid, especially this time of the year? You couldn't wait. You were out of school. My gosh, Christmas presents or Christmas music, going to the mall, Christmas parties, you know, and just anticipating Santa coming. If you were that young, you're still believing Santa. I mean, there's times, I'll be honest, there's times I think about that. I'll hear certain Christmas songs and I'll go back to that moment in my life and sometimes I cry because it's just not there anymore. It was just awesome, just to be a kid. And then when you're getting out of school for the summer, man, you're just gonna be gone all summer. I mean, just being a kid, no pressure. The only thing that sucked is you had a curfew. You had to be home at night. You had to call and check in. That's what stunk. I mean, isn't that what we want them to have? That's what we should want for our children, to be as kids as long as they can. I remember talking about Christmas. I was like on a mission to make sure my daughter didn't find out that Santa wasn't an actual live being. I say that because I love the spirit of Santa. It symbolizes Christmas, faith, and belief. But I did not want her I wanted her to believe that as long as can be. And if somebody was gonna try to ruin it, I was gonna punish them. I mean, I was on that kind of mission. So it's that kind of thing. You just let them be kids. Let them play. If they want to play sports, here, let them play at their speed. You know what I mean? As long as they're having fun. That's not what sports isn't about winning. Yeah, you play to win. You want to win, but that's not what it's about. It's about camaraderie, work ethic, you know, winning, just the feeling of winning, just working so hard and that reward of winning. You know what I mean? That's what sports is about, but mainly the camaraderie, what it teaches you, the barriers it breaks down. That's what sports is about. And it's not just sports, it's lots of things. I mean, it's the business I'm in. I mean, it's not just doing what we do. For you guys that know me, it's the camaraderie. It's achieving the goals, internal goals for a month or a year together, and the celebration. at the end when we hit them, when it seems like it's almost unimaginable that we're going to hit them, and everyone comes together and we hit. And even if we didn't hit, as long as we gave it hell, that's that's what it's about. You know what I mean? So it's just not sports, it's everything, but just talking about sports in general. Let these kids have fun. It's a here. It's it I mean, school shouldn't be like they're in prison. I mean, school should be fun, and if you're teaching your at home, if you're teaching your child, hey, just work as hard as you can. If you're teaching them the right values, not focusing on hitting the goals and being perfect, just teaching them the right values. That'll all transfer over into their schoolwork or sports or whatever kind of extracurricular they're in. That'll transfer over. They'll do it themselves. That's the key though. They got to want to do it themselves. Not you can't force them because then they're half-hearted and then they become angry and frustrated because they're not being heard. They got to want it and they got to know that mom and dad are there to support. And they got to know that it's okay if they don't hit the goal that they want to hit. So, you know, let's keep it fun for them. Like I said, I'm not coming on here acting like I know everything because I don't. Because if I did, I would have a son that's been dealing with what he's dealt with for 9 years. But, you know, but we're grateful for it and he's grateful for it. And so you know, I wanted to be on here as a parent. And if anyone's listening, anyone decides to listen, kind of share this because it's been on my mind. I just feel like I should share it because, like I said, it's not talked about ever. There's no emphasis on it. Like, maybe a lot of people just don't know. Maybe I know and Joy knows because of what we've experienced. Who knows? Maybe that's just one of the reasons. Maybe there's other factors, but and it's just become both for both of us a passion of not wanting to see children in that kind of pain, just wanting kids to just be kids and smiling and laughing and having a great time. Because when you get once you become an adult, life doesn't have to be a drag as an adult, but things become more serious, obviously, and there's more responsibilities, and you're exposed to things that you really wish you didn't have to be exposed to. So that's it for me. I'm not gonna hold you up anymore, but again, I'm real quick. Another thing I want to is I got a couple of notes here. And I just looked down. You know, another ways to kind of I feel like that I've have helped me is just when you talk about that servanthood and living your life for other people and just you know a great way to invest into yourself is to help others. You want to help yourself, you got to help others, and you start to develop you start to work towards a level of having more humility. I'm not saying I'm full of humility. I want people to say that you know he had humility, but there's times where my pride comes out. Pride's a terrible thing. Pride is not good, and it's probably one of the most devastating things for men is their pride. It makes them make terrible decisions. So, but humility, you know, even if you just talk to your child about humility and what it means, you know, it's really the opposite of vanity. Vanity is just being full of pride and and feeling so great about yourself and everything you've achieved. And humility is total opposite. We know what humility is. When you have humility, I know people around me that have a tremendous amount of humility, and they inspire me. And but they don't really, and the ones that are like that, they don't really seem to chase all these things, chase vanity, and they don't seem to live under all these pressures. and they seem to have more of an ear when you're talking. They listen to you. So, just something else I wanted to mention, throw out there. But I appreciate time taking time to listen, and I hope everyone has a Merry Christmas. Make it fun for the kids. I hope everyone else has. I hope the adults have fun too. But make it fun for the kids. It doesn't have to be about gifts. It's hey, the greatest thing is giving. You want fulfillment, and life is just giving. You know, so even if you can't, it's no big deal. It's not what it's about. You know, it's about our Lord and Savior and his birth and celebrating him. So let's hope you all enjoy it. Like I said, hope you can get a chance to be around your loved ones, your family, friends, and you can celebrate and have spirit, listen to great Christmas music, and eat cookies and whatnot, uh, and the kids and have great memories. Think about what I just said a little bit ago. The memories that I hold on to, man, I just wish I could go back one more day in those memories. But think about your kid, your children. Want them to have great memories. So that'll wrap it up, and I appreciate it. Maybe you'll see me again soon. Uh, have a good night. Thanks so much.
All right, you guys. I want to thank my dad for doing this video again today. Awesome job, Dad, and very proud of you. Very proud of Mom. Proud of my sister as well, and I really appreciate all you guys. Um, can't thank you guys enough. I mean, for what you've done for me for the last, not only my whole life, but for the last 9 years. I love you guys with the bottom of my heart, and thank you. There is no real without my parents and my sister and my family. So I love all you guys, and so we share this moment together, um, and really and celebrate and rejoice. I think it's an honor to be able to sit up here and to be able to do this. Not only what I've been able to do for the last uh, year and a half or whatever it's been, but be able to have my parents now to have the opportunity to share their story as well and share their side of it to help other people. Being able to help other people, and all of us are very honored. We're honored as a family to be able to do this. It's a gift from God, and yeah, I mean, I really hope this message really helped a parent out there today, or maybe a child. If you're somebody out there listening to this where I was, hey, take this message and share it to your parent. Be like, hey, so and so, I think maybe this would help us. You never know, or share it with somebody out there you think that needs it. And so, uh, and like I said, I think the more um, we can really sit and apply the message today and apply the things that God has taught us in the scriptures in the Bible, and really apply that to our home, to your home, and make that your foundation. You really start to see things turn around slowly but surely, and you'll really start to figure out, like I said earlier, you'll figure out the more bigger purpose with all this. God has a plan and a purpose for allowing certain things to happen for everything, and I didn't. When all that stuff happened to me at first, we didn't know what was going on. We didn't know why this was happening. It was frustrating, but as time went on, God slowed us down as a family, kind of reawakened us, and really over time we figured out what the true calling and purpose really was. Um, and now we're starting to see more of the fruits of that labor, and starting to see it kind of unfold before our eyes, just like you guys are seeing it unfold. So, uh, again, appreciate you, Dad, for doing that. We're gonna do more videos like that as well, so stay tuned for that. And anyone out there needs help or support, anyone out there going through anxiety right now, if you're a parent out there, you have more questions, email me below. Um, you can hit my email below. You can also contact the anxiety guy, Dennis Simsect, the anxiety guy. You can contact him on Instagram, I think Facebook, Twitter, or X. He's on Instagram threads as well. And you can go to his website as well, theanxietyguy.com. There's so many great programs over there. If you need help even picking one, you can ask me in an email. You can direct message him or email him. His email's on his website, and he'll get back to you immediately. He's great getting back to you, and great guy. That's if you're looking for somewhere to go right now, just go to theanxietyguy.com. And this is not a. I know I do a lot of work And in terms of sharing Dennis's content on my show, I've done that in the past and on my social media. But Dennis and I have no like paid partnership or anything. I don't work for Dennis or anything. I'm saying it because I truly believe it, and that's what helped me. So, and I believe it's the best out there. It's the best open resource for healing anxiety and panic and GAD and health, whatever you're going through. For any mental disorder out there, um, mental health problem you're going through, theanxietyguy.com. There's so many great programs over there, and just go over there and just start today. Find the program that's right for you. Reach out to Dennis, reach out to me, and just take it one step, one day at a time. And just like I said, the reason why I do this video today, you're not alone. And as parents, you're not alone. And we've been through it. You will get through it. And on the other side, as a family and as people, as individuals, even, God will really show you what his true purpose was for your life. You'll find that true calling in your life. I think a lot of people maybe right now, a lot of homes and people and families that are going through this, they don't really they're kind of just going along to get along. You know what I mean? They're just kind of going through life, going through the motions and just whatever happens and oh well. And but I think a lot of people are kind of aiming wanders, wanderously aiming nowhere. And that makes sense. And just kind of, they don't really have a purpose. They're just kind of they don't know their purpose, and I think that's kind of what causes a lot of people's anxieties as well because they're just not they don't know what to do. They feel kind of lost and stuck. But if you turn to God, if you turn to trying to help yourself too, and both of those things together, you will start to find that. But also, you'll start to find your true purpose, and you'll start to find that inner peace you've been looking for, and you'll just have a different perspective in life that you honestly didn't know existed. And we can all say that because we didn't know this existed. To be able to move on from things in your past and to live as freely. And doesn't mean you don't have issues and you don't go through things. I'm still working through things now. We're all working through things now here. Um, but knowing how to work through them and knowing how to, and understanding just how great God's grace is and how awesome God is and just how with Him you truly can get through anything. Because the safest place you can be is in the will of God. And as long as you understand that, you'll just keep going. The path may not be linear because it's not, but you will get there, and you're still heading forward, and you're still trending towards that, um, that destination where you want to be in your life. And so, love all you guys. Again, hit the like, subscribe, and share button for me. I'd really appreciate that. And yeah, that's all we got for you guys today. We'll see you guys in the next one. We're out of here. Gone.